December drizzle grayed the windows. It was the kind of tension that began in the administrative offices and seeped like a slow-moving gas through every corridor, every ward, settling in the lungs of those who worked there. The week of November 17th to 21st, 2025, was not going to be an ordinary one. The epicenter of this particular tremor was, as it often was, the office of Chief of Staff, Dr. Cameron Lewis. He stood before the panoramic window, his silhouette a stark contrast against the rain-streaked glass. In his hand, he held a single sheet of paper, a formal notice from the Port Charles Health Quality Review Board. It was not a routine inspection. It was a targeted audit, triggered by an anonymous complaint detailing systemic inefficiencies, outdated procedural protocols, and a vaguely worded but deeply troubling allegation of compromised ethical oversight in the cardiology department. 3 days, he muttered to his deputy chief, Dr. Elizabeth Baldwin, who sat with a calm that Cameron had always envied. "They're giving us 72 hours to prepare. This isn't an audit, Liz. It's an inquisition." Elizabeth crossed her legs, her mind already racing through charts, personnel files, and procedural manuals. "The complaint is specific enough to be damaging but vague enough to force us to open every record. They'll be looking at patient outcomes, surgical logs, informed consent documentation, supply chain invoices, especially in cardiology. The timing is interesting." "Interesting?" Cameron scoffed, finally turning from the window. His face was drawn. "It's catastrophic. The Williams-Corman Foundation is making their final site visit on Friday. A $100 million donation for the new pediatric wing hinges on their confidence in this hospital's governance. If the review board is crawling all over us, flashing red flags, that donation vanishes. Poof. Years of planning, down the drain. The foundation cares about results, Cameron. We have those. We just have to prove it while under a microscope." Elizabeth stood, her decision made. "I'll call an emergency department heads meeting for noon. We need full transparency. If there's a weak link, we find it ourselves, before they do." The weak link, unbeknownst to them, was currently trying to steady his hands in the doctor's lounge. Dr. Marcus Thorne, the brilliant but beleaguered head of cardiology, stared at his reflection in the stainless steel coffee machine. The face looking back was that of a man on the edge. Shadows pooled under his eyes, and a fine tremor, a side effect of both stress and the amphetamines he was using to get through his punishing workload, made the simple act of pouring a coffee a delicate operation. The anonymous complaint was his doing. A desperate, reckless act born of paranoia and a secret he could no longer bear alone. He had hoped it would force an external review, expose the corner cutting he'd been pressured into, and maybe, just maybe, provide him with some cover. Now, faced with the reality, he felt only a cold, gripping fear. His phone buzzed. A text from his wife, "Sarah, don't forget, parent-teacher conference is at 4 p.m. You promised you'd be there this time." The words blurred. The audit. The conference. The mountain of charts on his desk. The secret in the supply closet that was slowly eating him alive. He typed a one-word reply, "Sorry." Then he deleted it and typed nothing at all. While the administration braced for the storm, the emergency room was already in the midst of its own daily typhoon. Among the flurry of stitches and sprains, a new intern, Dr. Chloe Jensen, was having her mettle tested. Fresh from top of her class at an Ivy League school, she was all textbook knowledge and zero street smarts. She was assigned to a patient, a construction worker named Joe, with a deep laceration on his forearm. "All right, Joe, this is going to require some internal sutures first, then we'll close it up," she said, her voice a little too bright, her movements a little too rehearsed. She administered a local anesthetic, but in her nervousness, she misjudged the dosage and the depth. As she began to suture, Joe flinched violently. "Hey! I can feel that. That really hurts," he grumbled, his face pale. "It's just pressure, sir. The anesthetic has numbed the area," Chloe insisted, her confidence masking a rising panic. Senior nurse Epiphany Johnson, a pillar of the ER for 3 decades, observed from a distance. She saw the patient's genuine pain, the slight tremble in the intern's hands. She moved in smoothly, a battleship gliding to the rescue of a floundering dinghy. "Dr. Jensen, let me just check this dressing for you," Epiphany said, her voice a low, calming rumble. As she pretended to adjust the supplies, she subtly checked the anesthetic vial and the chart. Her eyes met Chloe's, and in that look, the young doctor saw not condemnation, but a stern, unyielding truth. "You used the standard dosage for a superficial wound, doctor," Epiphany said quietly, so only Chloe could hear. "But look at the muscle exposure here. This man's nerve endings are screaming. Medicine isn't just about what's in the book. It's about what's in the patient. Now, step aside, I'll assist you in administering a proper nerve block." It was a humiliating, public correction, but a necessary one. Chloe's face burned, but she nodded, swallowing her pride. It was her first real lesson at ABC General. Competence without compassion was just mechanics, and mechanics often failed when dealing with the complex machinery of a human being. Up in the surgical wing, a different kind of tension was unfolding. Dr. Monica Quartermain was preparing for a highly complex, elective aortic valve replacement. Her patient was a powerful, notoriously difficult media mogul, Mr. Alistair Croft. In the pre-op room, Monica went through the final consent forms. And as we discussed, Mr. Croft, while the robotic-assisted method is minimally invasive, there is always a risk of Yes, bleeding, stroke, death. I read the pamphlet," Croft interrupted, waving a dismissive hand. "Just make sure you use the new synthovalve prototype. My sources tell me it has a 99.9% success rate in trials. I didn't donate $1 million to your research fund for last year's model." Monica's smile was tight. "The synthovalve is still in its final testing phase, Alistair. It's not yet standard of care. The valve I've selected for you is proven, reliable, and perfectly suited to your anatomy." Croft's eyes narrowed. "I'm not a standard of care kind of man, Monica. I'm a pioneer. I want the best, the newest, the most advanced. That is the valve I am consenting to. If you're not comfortable implanting it, perhaps I should take my business, and my future donations, to Mount Sinai." It was a blatant power play. Monica knew the synthovalve was promising, but its long-term data was incomplete. She also knew that losing Croft as a patient and benefactor would be a significant blow, especially this week. The pressure from the administration to keep high-profile patients happy was a silent, heavy weight. She made a note on his chart, a decision deferred. The ethical line between what a patient demanded and what a doctor knew was safest was beginning to blur. As Monday bled into Tuesday, the audit began in earnest. 2 representatives from the review board, a severe woman named Ms. Davison and a quiet, observant man named Mr. Reed, set up camp in a conference room. They moved with a quiet, unnerving efficiency, their requests for files delivered via email with a chilling politeness. The entire hospital shifted into a state of high alert. Paperwork was triple-checked. Conversations in hallways became hushed. The air grew thicker. It was on Tuesday afternoon that the first major crack appeared. Marcus Thorne was in the middle of a catheterization procedure when he was summoned to the admin conference room. The board wanted to review a specific batch of patient files from 6 months ago, a series of angioplasties where the reported stent usage in the hospital's inventory logs didn't quite match the billing statements. The discrepancy was minor, a few $1,000s in the grand scheme, but it was a thread. As Marcus sat, sweating under the cool, fluorescent lights, trying to explain the clerical error, he knew they were pulling on it. And he knew where it led. His secret was a simple one, born of a moment of terrible weakness. Months ago, drowning in medical debt from his daughter's rare genetic treatment, a treatment not fully covered by his insurance, he had begun to skim expensive, specialized cardiac stents. He would mark one as used in a procedure, bill the insurance, and then sell the actual and used device through a black market contact. It had started small, just one, to cover a single exorbitant bill. But the debt was a hydra, for every head he cut off, 2 more grew. And now, the trail of paperwork, the fudged inventory reports, the slightly altered patient charts, were all circling back to him. Later that day, in a moment of panic, he accessed the hospital's main server from an isolated terminal in the medical library. He wasn't a hacker, but he knew the system. He tried to create a backdoor, to alter the digital logs for the Sten inventory, to plant a digital ghost that would point the blame towards a glitch in the system rather than a person. It was a clumsy, desperate act. As he typed, his heart hammering against his ribs, he didn't notice the small, red light on the security camera in the corner of the room, blinking rhythmically, recording it all. Wednesday dawned with a sense of impending doom. The audit team had expanded their inquiry, now asking pointed questions about the informed consent process for experimental devices. This landed directly on Monica Quartermain's desk, coinciding with Mr. Croft's surgery, scheduled for that afternoon. The conflict came to a head in the pre-op holding area. Monica stood with the consent form. "Alistair, I need you to initial here, acknowledging that we discussed the risks associated with the standard valve, and here, acknowledging that you are explicitly requesting the synthovalve prototype against my recommendation." Croft scowled. "I'm not initialing anything that makes it sound like I'm going against medical advice. I'm exercising informed choice." "Rewrite it." "I can't do that," Monica said, her voice firm but tired. "This form is a legal and ethical document. It protects you, and it protects me." "Then we have a problem," Croft said, his voice rising. "Get me Dr. Lewis. Get me the head of the board. I want a doctor who understands the needs of a modern patient." The standoff was interrupted by a page for Dr. Quartermain. It was the ER. There had been a multi-vehicle accident on the freeway, multiple critical injuries were incoming, including a probable ruptured spleen and a severe head trauma. They needed her, now. The elective surgery was suddenly, starkly, non-essential. "Cancel the procedure," Monica said to the charge nurse, her eyes never leaving Croft's furious face. "We have lives to save that can't wait for a debate on semantics." She turned and strode towards the ER, the weight of the donor's wrath a secondary concern to the immediate, screaming need of the incoming wounded. The ER descended into beautiful, terrible chaos. It was in this pressurized environment that Dr. Chloe Jensen found her purpose. Assigned to a young woman, a passenger in one of the cars, she initially saw only minor abrasions. But something felt off. The patient was drowsy, complaining of a slight headache. The textbook said to clear her for observation. But Chloe remembered Epiphany's words, "It's about what's in the patient." She looked closer. A subtle weakness in the left-hand grip. A slight slurring of words that could be mistaken for shock. "Get me a stat CT head scan," she ordered, her voice now possessing a newfound authority. The nurse looked skeptical. "Doctor, her vitals are stable, and we have criticals." "No," Chloe insisted. "I think she's having a subdural hematoma." The scan proved her right. A slow bleed was building pressure in the young woman's skull. It was a catch that, minutes later, could have been fatal. As the patient was rushed to neurosurgery, Epiphany Johnson caught Chloe's eye from across the trauma bay and gave a single, slow, approving nod. It was a small victory, a life saved in the midst of the week's turmoil, but it was a potent reminder of why they were all there. While the ER battled the consequences of the outside world, the internal investigation was heating up. The hospital's IT security chief, alerted by the anomalous server access from the medical library, reviewed the camera footage. The image was clear: Dr. Marcus Thorne, at 9:14 p.m. on Tuesday, performing unauthorized actions on a hospital terminal. Combined with the inventory discrepancies the audit team had flagged, it was no longer a question of if but why. On Thursday morning, Cameron and Elizabeth faced the inevitable. The evidence was presented to them in a sealed envelope from IT. They called Marcus into Cameron's office. The cardiologist looked like a ghost. "Marcus," Cameron began, his voice heavy with a profound disappointment. "We have you on camera accessing the server to alter inventory records. The review board has the original discrepancies. You want to tell us what's going on before they formally accuse you of fraud and embezzlement?" Marcus sank into a chair, the fight gone out of him. The story tumbled out in a broken, shame-filled torrent. His daughter's illness, the crushing debt, the moment of temptation, the spiral of lies. He wasn't a criminal mastermind, he was a desperate father, a man who had sacrificed his integrity on the altar of his love for his child. I thought I could fix it. I thought the audit would expose the pressure, the budget cuts. I never meant for it to go this far. He whispered, his head in his hands. Elizabeth's face was a mask of conflicted emotions. Oh, Marcus. We have resources for this. An employee assistance fund. We would have helped you. But the shame. He choked out. The failure. The situation was a nightmare. Firing Marcus and handing him over to the authorities would neatly solve the hospital's problem with the audit. They could present him as a rogue actor, a single bad apple, thus preserving the institution's reputation. But it felt ruthless, unjust. We have to think of the hospital, the donation, the hundreds of jobs the new wing will create, Cameron said, pacing. This is a gift-wrapped scapegoat. Is that who we are, Cameron? Elizabeth asked quietly. An institution that chews up and spits out its own when they break under a strain we partly helped create? He didn't steal for a sports car. He stole for his daughter's life. The ethical quandary was paralyzing. The right thing for the individual versus the right thing for the collective. The easy, hard choice versus the hard, right one. As they deliberated, another drama was reaching its climax. The mother of the young woman whose life Chloe had saved, a Mrs. Albright, sought out the young doctor. Through tears of relief, she explained that her daughter was her only family, her whole world. She was also, it turned out, the senior vice president of the Williams-Corman Foundation. I was supposed to be on your site visit tomorrow, Mrs. Albright told a stunned Chloe Jensen. I was coming to pass final judgment. But today, I received the greatest report on a hospital's quality I could ever ask for. Your diligence, your refusal to take the easy path, you saved my daughter. That is the culture of care I want our foundation's name on. The news filtered up to Cameron's office just as they were about to make a decision on Marcus. It was a stunning reprieve. The donation, the single biggest point of pressure, was now secure, not because of flawless audits, but because of flawless care at the human level. It changed everything. Cameron looked at Elizabeth, a new resolve in his eyes. We don't throw him to the wolves, he said. We take our hits. On Friday, the final day of the audit, Cameron and Elizabeth met with Ms. Davison and Mr. Reed. They presented their findings not as a completed investigation, but as an ongoing one. They admitted to a serious internal issue involving a member of staff and potential inventory mismanagement. They did not name Marcus, but they did not hide the problem. They outlined a corrective action plan that included a full financial audit, enhanced oversight, and the establishment of a more robust employee support system. It seems you are taking this seriously, Ms. Davison conceded, her stern demeanor softening a fraction. Our preliminary report will reflect this internal discrepancy and your proactive response. It will, however, also note a failure of systemic oversight. You can expect a follow-up in 6 months. It was the best outcome they could have hoped for. The hospital's reputation would be bruised, but not broken. The donation was safe. The Williams-Corman Foundation's site visit, led by a profoundly grateful Mrs. Albright, was a resounding success. That evening, as the sun broke through the clouds for the first time all week, casting long, golden shadows through the hallways, the staff of ABC General Hospital breathed a collective, weary sigh. The crisis had passed. In Cameron's office, he, Elizabeth, and Monica shared a quiet moment. We got lucky, Cameron said, sipping a much-needed scotch. We got a reminder, Elizabeth corrected him. That for all the budgets, audits, and politics, this place runs on the decisions of individual doctors and nurses. Sometimes they fail. Sometimes they shine. Monica nodded. And sometimes, a power-hungry donor gets put in his place by a ruptured spleen. There is justice in the universe. As for Marcus Thorne, he was not fired. He was suspended without pay, pending a full review, and mandated to enter a counseling and financial rehabilitation program. The path to redemption would be long and hard, and a legal reckoning might still come, but he had been given a chance to heal, to face his problems without the veil of secrecy, and to someday, perhaps, earn back the trust he had shattered. Dr. Chloe Jensen finished her shift and walked out of the hospital into the crisp November night. The air smelled clean, of rain and fallen leaves. She felt a bone-deep exhaustion, but also a profound sense of belonging. She had been tested, humbled, and ultimately, she had proven herself. She was no longer just an intern, she was part of the messy, complicated, and ultimately noble organism that was ABC General Hospital. The week of November 17th to 21st, 2025, was over. It had been a week of spoilers that foretold a crisis, but the real story was not in the scandal or the audit. It was in the quiet moments of care, the difficult choices in the dark, the lessons learned under fire, and the unbreakable, if often strained, commitment to the fragile lives entrusted to their care. The hospital had been tested, and it had held. For now, that was enough. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, its own spoilers, but for tonight, there was a hard-won piece. The week in Port Charles begins with a tension that quietly hums beneath every conversation, and as the morning sun pours through the windows of the hospital, Elizabeth senses it immediately. She stops at the nurse's station, flipping through charts, but her mind is anywhere but the paperwork. Finn approaches her, voice low, saying, "Hey, you're distracted." Elizabeth sighs, barely glancing up as she replies, "There's just too much happening at once. And none of it feels good." Finn gently places a hand on her arm, but she steps back. "I don't have room for anything except the chaos that's about to hit us." Meanwhile, across town, Sam and Dante sit at the kitchen table in their townhouse, the tension thick between them as Sam pushes a piece of paper across the table. "This came last night," she says. Dante unfolds it, eyes narrowing. "It's from the bureau. They're reopening the case?" Sam nods stiffly, adding, "And they want you to testify." "Again." Dante breathes out sharply. "Sam, you know how dangerous this is." She snaps in frustration, "Don't you think I know? But pretending the past won't catch up to us hasn't worked so far." Dante reaches for her hand, but Sam pulls away, adding, "I can't lose you. Not over this. Not after everything." At the Metro Court, Carly stands behind the bar wiping glasses, but her attention drifts to the entrance every few seconds. When Jason finally walks in, she tosses the towel aside and marches toward him. "Don't even start," Jason mutters before she speaks. Carly's tone is sharp as she fires back, "No, you don't get to shut me out when you're planning something that can blow up your life again." Jason looks around, lowering his voice. "Carly, it's already in motion. I can't step back now." She glares at him. "Then what? You just expect me to sit here and watch you walk into danger like it's nothing?" Jason sighs, rubbing the back of his neck. "I need you to trust me." Carly steps closer, voice trembling, "I always trust you, Jason." "That's the problem." Upstairs in one of the luxury suites, Sunny stands with Ava, their argument echoing down the hallway. "You shouldn't have gone behind my back," Sunny says coldly. Ava fires back, "I did what I had to do. If that information leaked to the wrong person, we'd both be dead already." Sunny clenches his jaw. "You could have come to me." Ava scoffs, "Would you have listened? Or would you have shut me out like you always do?" Sunny steps forward, voice low and dangerous. "You're playing a game where the stakes are lethal. And if you make a wrong move, I can't protect you." Ava's tone softens for just a moment. "Maybe I don't want protection. Maybe I want partnership." Sunny stares at her, uncertain of what to do with the truth in her voice. Back at GH, Anna sits in a private room reviewing files as Jordan walks in. "I hope you're ready," Jordan says, crossing her arms. Anna looks up and murmurs, "As ready as I can be. The intel we received, it's worse than we thought." Jordan drops a folder on the table. "And now we have a confirmed sighting. He's alive." Anna closes her eyes, whispering, "I knew it." Jordan adds, "But he's not alone. And the people he's working with? They make the old threats look like child's play." Anna stands, determination setting in. "Then we stop him before he destroys everything." Jordan raises a brow. "You realize that means involving Sunny?" Anna grimaces. I'm aware. But I'm not thrilled. At that moment, Valentine enters the room, casually leaning against the doorframe. Good. Because Sonny already knows. And he's waiting for answers. Anna stiffens, glaring at him. You went to him without me? Valentine counters coolly, I went to him because you're losing time and pretending you can handle this alone. Anna snaps, I'm not pretending. I'm trying to contain a threat before it spirals. Valentine steps forward, voice softening. Which is exactly why you shouldn't push away the people who can help. Anna holds his gaze but says nothing. Meanwhile, in the Quartermain mansion, Brooklyn paces the living room while Chase tries to calm her. I don't know why you're acting like this, he says, hands raised in surrender. Brooke responds sharply, because everything keeps shifting and I don't know where I stand anymore. Chase sighs, Brooke, slow down. Tell me what happened. Brooke sits heavily on the couch. I overheard Tracy talking. And if what she said is true, then ELQ is about to explode. Chase sits beside her. Brooke, whatever it is, we face it together. She leans into him, voice cracking, I've barely had time to breathe since we got married, Chase. I'm scared we're going to lose everything before we even get our footing. Chase lifts her chin. We won't. You and me? We're solid. And no company war is going to break us. But the fear in Brooke's eyes lingers. Elsewhere in the mansion, Michael confronts Ned in the study. Why didn't you tell me the deal was falling apart? Ned rubs his temples. Because I was trying to fix it before involving the entire family. Michael snaps, and now we're blindsided. Again. Ned glares at him. This family has survived worse. We'll survive this. Michael shakes his head. Not if secrets keep getting buried. At the hospital rooftop, Jocelyn meets with Dex, arms crossed, eyes sharp. You went back to Sonny, she says accusingly. Dex doesn't bother denying it. He needed someone he can trust. Jocelyn scoffs, and that someone can't be me? Dex steps closer. It's not that simple. She fires back, it always is with you. Sonny says jump, you ask how high. What about what we want? Dex cups her face gently. I want you. But I can't leave him when things are this unstable. Joss steps back, eyes watery. I don't want to spend the rest of my life worrying if the next call is someone telling me you're dead. Dex murmurs, then trust me to make it through. She whispers, that's the part I'm not sure I can do anymore. Downstairs in the pediatric wing, Willow observes a nervous patient before Nina walks up behind her. The air turns icy. I didn't expect to see you here today, Nina says softly. Willow replies curtly, I work here, Nina. Nina wrings her hands. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm trying. I'm really trying to change. Willow looks at her with exhaustion rather than anger. Trying isn't always enough. Nina's voice cracks, I don't want to lose any more time with you. Or with Wiley. Or Amelia. Willow gently but firmly replies, you can't force relationships you broke. Nina whispers, then tell me how to fix it. Willow shakes her head. You can't fix everything, Nina. Some wounds close slowly, if they close at all. Meanwhile, Laura returns to her office at City Hall, only to find Spencer sitting in her chair. I thought you were still on the other side of the world, Laura says, stunned. Spencer smirks, and missed the chaos of Port Charles? Hardly. Laura moves closer, voice shaky. Why are you really here, Spencer? He sighs, dropping the act. I got a call. About Esme. And Ace. Laura freezes. What kind of call? Spencer looks away. The kind that says nothing is as simple as we hoped. Laura's heart sinks. Esme's past still has reach, doesn't it? Spencer nods. And someone wants Ace. Someone dangerous. Laura steadies herself. Then we protect him. No matter what. At the same time, Trina walks into Kelly's looking anxious as she sees Curtis behind the counter. I didn't know you were working this shift, she says. Curtis smiles. Trying to keep busy. Trina sits. I got Spencer's message. Curtis immediately looks concerned. Is he okay? Trina shrugs. That depends on what he tells me when I see him. Curtis sets a soda in front of her. Be careful. Even when he thinks he's protecting you, he pulls you into danger. Trina murmurs, I know. But I love him, Dad. Curtis reaches across the counter. Then protect your heart. And don't let his chaos be your chaos. Over at Maxie's apartment, Lulu sits on the couch as Maxie paces frantically. I'm telling you, something's off with Damien, Maxie insists. Lulu laughs softly. Maxie, Spinelli's always off. That's part of his charm. Maxie shakes her head. Not like this. He's hiding something. Lulu grows more concerned. Hiding what? Before Maxie can answer, Spinelli bursts through the door. Ladies! We have a situation most dire. Maxie rolls her eyes. Called it. Spinelli takes a breath and says, someone hacked into my secure network. Not just any hacker. Someone with knowledge of our files. Our secrets. Lulu whispers, what secrets? Spinelli's voice trembles. The kind that put all of us in danger. By Thursday, the crisis peaks when Sonny receives a message delivered by hand. He opens the envelope slowly, then curses under his breath. Ava rushes to him. What is it? Sonny hands her the note. Ava's face pales. They know about the shipment. Sonny mutters, they want a meeting. Tonight. Ava shakes her head. It's a trap. Sonny replies, of course it's a trap. But I'm going anyway. Ava grabs his arm. Then I'm going too. Sonny looks at her sharply. This isn't your world. Ava fires back, it is now. Jason meets him later in the warehouse district. Sonny, this isn't smart, Jason says. Sonny smirks, when have I ever been accused of being smart? Jason steps forward. I'm serious. Let me go in first. Sonny shakes his head. No. This is my territory. My risk. Jason's voice softens. Don't make me bury another friend. Sonny hesitates, then quietly says, stay close. The meeting explodes into chaos, gunfire, shadows, threats, but Sonny and Jason make it out, shaken but alive. Jason looks at him afterward. This isn't the end. Sonny replies, no. It's just the beginning. On Friday, the week closes with a shockwave as Anna receives a call that changes everything. She answers sharply, this better be good. A voice says, you wanted proof he's alive. Anna stops breathing. I'm listening. The caller continues, check your secure email. He recorded a message. For you. Anna whispers, my God. Valentine walks in as she hangs up. What happened? He asks. Anna looks at him with pure dread. He's back. And he wants me to know it.